Hello, fellow e-bike owners. I've seen a lot of questions in the forums for my particular bike that I own about people interested in winter riding, and I am from the South. I was born in Arkansas, raised in Arkansas, Mississippi, South Carolina, then moved to Texas, and just a few years ago moved to Wisconsin. And last year I got an e-bike and I wanted to see if I could stand riding through winter on the e-bike on my commute to work. And I was successfully able to do it. So this winter, I'm hoping to take footage of myself riding so I can do a better video, but I wanted to get some information out for this winter ahead of time so that anyone who might otherwise miss being able to ride through the winter can get some insight from someone who is not born and raised in this type of climate out here. So I'm going to give you the tips that I learned through experience last year in gearing up for different temperatures and literally being able to ride all the way down to negative 13 degrees on a 13-mile work commute to and back. Let's start off with the video that I took while on my work commute this past week. I'm going to give you two different perspectives with different layers, but this is basically advice for people who are commuting above freezing temperatures. So people who live in the South and might have maybe the occasional sub-freezing temperatures, but for the most part, your winter riding is going to be above 32 degrees. So let's cut to that footage and give you some advice from that context. So I'm on my work commute this morning and the morning started kind of late 30s. It's going to be in the high 40s later. Right now it's right around 40 degrees, but obviously when you're on a class 3 e-bike and you're going at speeds of nearly 30 miles per hour, you have to factor in the wind chill. But when it is above freezing, I generally wear the same thing. It's a little bit rainy today. I don't normally wear rain gear per se, but I do wear something that has a windbreaker texture to it for the top and bottom. So pants I'm usually wearing have kind of a water resistant layer on the outside, the Eddie Bauer lined Guide Pro pants. So it's like a fleece lining on the inside with this similar texture to a rain jacket on the outside. But this morning I'm wearing just sweatpants that you can buy at any generic store with a very lightweight rain layer on top of those. I have wool socks on, same wool socks I wear anytime I'm dressing for cold weather. The only difference I change is these are just a non-insulated, waterproof leather boot. When it gets colder, I'll wear an insulated boot, like a snow boot. Right now, I'm only wearing one fleece layer. I wasn't quite sure how cold it would be this morning. It's a little on the warmer side. I did pack an extra fleece in my pannier bag just in case, but I'm a little warmer than expected. I almost don't need this layer at all. Granted, at the beginning of the bike ride, you're going to be a little bit more cold than later in the bike ride. The moment I started riding, that cold air hit my face. I was definitely like, oh, I might be a little underdressed here. I might need something for the neck. But in a matter of minutes, I got very used to it. Started getting pretty warm in here, and that warm layer on the inside of your layers is going to keep those colder layers or those colder places more distal it's gonna help keep those warm. So these are actually the same gloves I wear when it's negative 13 degrees. These pogies slash bar mitts, they do a really good job of keeping the cold wind off of your hands from going up your sleeves. And it's really that body warmth that keeps the hands warm while you're riding. So if you're managing your heat while riding on the bike, you're going to manage your hands just fine, even your face. Granted, when it gets colder, I do cover up my face more, but when it's above freezing, the only covering I need is some good little goggles. So keeping that cold air from blowing into my eyes and kind of stinging the eyes a little bit. Outside of that, just one fleece layer, a very lightweight underlayer, an Under Armour type material, so just something that kind of grabs sweat and wicks it away really easily. This is not a thick fleece layer. I think it's just a Costco quarter zip, whatever pullover thing. So it doesn't have to be a really insulating layer, but I like something fleece because it breathes better. When it gets colder, I put a down layer on. So I'm on my work commute again, and temperature is almost identical to the last video, but today I went without my windbreaker layer. They are in my pannier bags just in case it got too cold. So far, I'm okay, but I wanted to give you a little bit more context around what I can do in these temperatures. And
In the last video, I was wearing my same winter gloves that I wear all winter long. Today, I actually wanted to experiment a little bit and go with my wool fingerless gloves, which I usually only put on when it gets around 60 degrees and down to maybe 50. Right now, it's 40. It's very humid out here, as you can see how foggy it is. There's a lake back here if you couldn't tell. So these pogies are actually keeping my hands very, I wouldn't say very warm. They're like ever so slightly chilly, but the pogies are doing an absolute awesome job of keeping my fingers comfortable while riding. So I like the extra dexterity and the lack of bulk compared to my other gloves. So it's a more comfortable ride having these on compared to my other gloves inside those pogies. It can get a little cramped in there. I did put an extra layer on under this fleece for a little bit of extra warmth, but this is almost see-through. It's very light fabric. I just figured I probably want a little bit more warmth because usually I would probably wear 2 layers of fleece, but then halfway through the ride I'd have to like take a layer off or at least unzip, and I was like, I think I can get by just starting off with what I would normally end with on the ride, and I've been okay. Initial part of the ride, first mile, slightly chilly, but 3 miles into my ride, which I have like a 12, 13 mile commute, I'm always getting warm by that 3 mile mark. So keep in mind, you can always customize your ride. If you need more warmth at the beginning, use less resistance. I'm going turbo the whole way, like highest PAS level. So I'm getting maximum assistance because I want to shorten the time of my ride as much as possible. So, because I'm trying to get to work, I'm not here to necessarily enjoy the ride. I do enjoy it, but I like to keep it as short as possible so I can get as much work done and get home and as little time as possible. So this is what I'm comfortable with in 40 degrees. These are those same Eddie Bauer Guide Pro lined pants that I mentioned in the last video. My uninsulated boots with a light wool sock in there. LL Bean socks are just the best. And I do have a like very lightweight long sleeve shirt on under here. I mean, if the lighting was better, you could see that you can see through this material, see through this material. Both very lightweight things for wicking sweat, and then your average fleece. So pretty comfortable at this temperature. And if I needed more warmth, I could throw on the windbreaker in my pannier bag or use less assistance, get more body heat. So the one other thing I will say is I tried to go with glasses, and I wish I had brought my goggles because these things are fogging up like crazy. Probably because of how foggy it is and how much moisture there is in the air, but don't be embarrassed to ride with goggles, even if it's above freezing outside.
Okay, so now as you can see, winter is arriving literally today. We've got 30-mile-an-hour winds because we're going from highs of 50s down to highs of freezing. So, and we have 10 inches of snow forecasted in a few days. So it's gonna be a lot of fun riding the e-bike around in that weather. And I mean that seriously. So I'm gonna show you what I do differently when things start to get below freezing. Now, as I mentioned in the video, you always are gonna have a pair of wool socks. They're gonna keep you warm, but they're also gonna wick away moisture. And no matter what type of winter riding you do and what you wear, you're going to deal with moisture. It either will be sweat or it will be condensation because of the temperature difference inside of your clothing versus outside of your clothing. So you need to be very conscientious about being able to absorb and wick away that moisture. Do not wear anything that's cotton or gonna suck moisture in and just hold onto it and take forever to dry because you're asking to get cold. Now, some tips I have learned from having wool socks since moving to Wisconsin is Smartwool makes very warm socks, but at least for me, being on the skinnier side, they stretch out and they just sag and fall off. So I'm not the biggest fan of Smartwool the way they fit, but they are very warm. They're high quality material, but you're probably gonna enjoy Smartwool more if you're on the bigger side so that as they stretch out, they don't, fall down as much. I really like LL Bean. The LL Bean boot sock is the best wool sock I have ever had. So take that for what you will. Now, the only thing I do differently when things start to go below freezing compared to the video that I already showed you is I switch my fleece outer layer for a down outer layer. So this I definitely recommend having something that's very zippable, because you will be surprised sometimes that you're in 20-degree weather, but you're riding at such an intensity that you're gonna have to unzip. Like even below zero, sometimes I'm unzipping my outermost layers, because it's surprising how much heat your body can generate. And if you're wearing very insulating layers and that heat has nowhere to go, it starts to get a little overwhelming. So you're actually going to want zippers as much as you can to create customization in the venting process while riding. So the only real big difference that I have between my above freezing winter gear and my freezing and below to like 15, 20 degrees is really the down coat. I will still wear a fleece base layer. So I always wear something long sleeve, again, to kind of grab the first bit of moisture or sweat that's happening. So this right here is a synthetic layer. It might be a cotton poly blend, but nearly everything I wear base layer wise is almost exclusively synthetic, if not exclusively synthetic. So synthetic light base layer, a fleece layer between, so a mid layer between that and my down. And that's mostly because the down is not going to breathe. The only ventilation you're going to get from down is zipping it down. So if you're getting a bunch of moisture in the down can start to get wet. That moisture can collect on the material, seep into the down, and you're going to have to manage your down a lot more frequently than you would otherwise if you wear a good base layer, mid layer, and create some separation between that moisture and the down itself. But don't overthink that too much. So base layer, mid layer, down outer layer. The goggles that I showed you in the above freezing temperature. Here's a little feature that I didn't show you of the helmet. You don't have to do this. It doesn't make a huge difference, but having a snowboarding, skiing type helmet is very nice, because you can customize whether the vent on top of the helmet is open or not. Also, they tend to have pretty insulating ears, so you get a little bit more protection from the cold around your ears. So that's another feature that I like about skiing, snowboarding helmets. So the gloves that I showed you in the video, they're not that warm. I actually can get pretty cold when I'm clearing snow outside and it's just 25 degrees, a little under freezing. Like, these are not that insulating. They're honestly more of a luxury decorative glove than anything. They just look really nice. They're very well made, but the amount of heat you generate while riding or while being active is enough to send warm blood to your extremities. So you'll probably be surprised at how warm your hands can be with just a moderate level of insulation. That being said, where did I put those? There they are, left them over in my pile of winter stuff that I grabbed all this out of. Mittens, you can definitely wear mittens, and I started to wear these once last winter below zero and they were too hot. My hands started sweating. They're very bulky and clunky, so especially if you are wearing bar mitts or pogies, it's gonna be hard to fit them in there. You can do it, but just keep in mind, very bulky, not gonna have anything other than the thumb, and you're gonna have to ride with your fingers over the brake the whole time, because trying to put them over the handlebar and then pick them up and onto the brake, it's not very easy inside of bar mitts or pogies. So the only reason I would ever probably ride with mittens is if I'm not using bar mitts or pogies. So keep in mind, mittens are always an option. Now, depending on the weather outside, as it's kind of fluctuating right now, you can still see it's very windy out there, but we're getting intermittent snow. If it was actively snowing while I was riding in 15 to 32 degrees, I would add this type of layers. This is basically a rain layer, but this is like not breathable at all. I think it's PVC. I don't know if it's latex, but it's a cheap waterproof layer that I bought probably over 10 years ago to go fishing in. And it does a great job of keeping anything that might otherwise soak into my clothing from soaking in and possibly making me cold. So if there's snow on the ground and I risk having moisture kicked up off the tires onto my clothing, or if it's actively snowing, sleeting, anything like that, I'll put some sort of layer on over my pants to keep them, again, from getting wet. So now let's talk about transitioning from 15 to 32 degrees, which I know is a wide range, but depending on the wind and the sun, lots of different things can make a very big difference. Sometimes riding in 25 degrees can be colder than riding in 10 degrees. It just kind of depends on what all is going on. But let's make the switch from above 15 to anywhere from below 0 to above 0. And in fact, let's talk about 0 to 15, because there are some things that we're definitely going to do differently when we start getting around 0 or under. So the things I start to do when we're getting down to those lower teens and single digit temperatures is I definitely will start to wear a neck gaiter if I'm not already. Again, depending on how sensitive your skin is or how tall your jacket comes, when you zip your jacket all the way up, you may or may not need a neck gaiter. But for me, I tend to not usually wear one until we're starting to get into those closer to 0 temperatures, because I kind of need that ventilation from all the body heat that I have to be pulled off of my face. I am definitely wearing a balaclava around those single digit temperatures. So something that covers everything around my goggles. So I can kind of customize it and pull it down below my mouth if I feel like I don't need the protection over my mouth. I want to breathe a little easier, because keep in mind, you risk having fog on your glasses or goggles if your mouth is covered and you're exhaling and that hot air is coming up. So you kind of want to be able to customize pulling that down under your chin or back up, depending on how cold it is. When it's below 0, you start to get freezing, like ice from the moisture that inevitably develops where the mouth is being covered. And so you'll have to kind of start exhaling downward to make sure that moisture is not going up and up and up and up and going to start fogging your goggles. So keep that in mind. But this is definitely something we switch to when we are getting into those closer to 0 temperatures. Neck gaiter, balaclava, probably both. The other big switch that I make is, this is a down insulated jacket, but it has a very waterproof outer layer. So this is for skiing or snowboarding. So it's meant to get wet and keep you dry. So that's a switch I will make, is making sure that I am not risking getting any moisture on my down coat, but also this helps break more wind. So you're just getting extra insulation. So this is definitely a switch I make. This is probably twice as heavy as the down jacket over here. So it's just a lot more heft, and it's gonna keep you warmer, even though it's still just a down jacket with kind of a waterproof windbreaker outer layer. That those extra layers just are gonna hold in more heat. Oh, another good reason to think about skiing or snowboarding gear is the hood on this jacket is sized to go over my helmet. So that's very nice on those snowy days or those super cold days where you just want every bit of protection from the elements as possible. As you can see here, bibs. So we're switching from just this super light, thin, waterproof layer to something that's actually insulating. Now, up to this point, I've only been wearing the lined Eddie Bauer pants that I mentioned in the other video. But at this point, when we're starting to get below 15, we're gonna need some more insulation. So this is not by any means a heavy pair of bibs, but it's just kind of your average snowboarding, skiing bibs that are going to insulate you more, keep you dry if it is wet in any way, snowing. So it's gonna keep you drier and much warmer. So keep in mind, I do tend to unzip this layer a lot. So I'll start the ride often with my down outer layer, upper layer, and my bibs zipped but then a few miles into that ride, I'm often unzipping the top layer at least down this far, and then if it's still a little hot, I'll unzip the bib so that I can get some fresh air to help vent all that heat that I'm generating. And the last big change that I make when I'm at 15 or below is an insulated boot. So rather than just my leather uninsulated waterproof boot that just keeps my feet dry, this will actually keep your feet warm. So I'll wear these all the way down to 0 degrees with just the wool sock. But when we start to get below 0, here are the final changes you might want to make. Electric vest, electric socks. And obviously there's lots of different electric options out there. You can get gloves, jackets. I'm sure there's beanies. I don't know, but this is all I ever use. On the days where it was the coldest, so I think I rode in one day when it was -13, and then the very next day or the day before that, it was like -5, -8, something like that. Both of those days, I do remember riding with my electric stuff on. I can't actually remember if I even used it. I think I just wanted it there in case I got too cold. But regardless, I know I never turned the heat all the way up because it's actually too hot. But there's like 3 heated layers or 3 heated settings on this jacket, and I would have used the lowest one while riding. And then these socks, again, the lowest heat setting if I even turned it on. So below 0, you might want some electronics on you to help just generate extra warmth that your body can't do already. But keep in mind, when I am riding, every single time I'm riding, I'm in the highest pedal assist level. So I'm getting the most amount of assistance from the bike, taking the most amount of work out of my body, but I'm still generating a ton of body heat while riding. But you can always dial back your pedal assist so that your body's doing more work, generating more heat. And that's an easy way to customize the ride apart from unzipping or zipping. Oh, I forgot to show you. One of the other features I like about this jacket is the zip armpits, which there's still a down jacket under here, but you are gonna get some extra ventilation. And on the day that I rode in at -13, I kept those armpits open because that's just how much heat you can generate while riding. Is you're gonna want some ventilation so that you're not getting a ton of sweat, a ton of condensation. So by actually exposing yourself, opening these zippers, exposing yourself to the elements more can actually keep you warmer because you're not then dealing with the buildup of sweat or moisture inside the clothing, which can actually end up getting cold during the ride. So keep that in mind. Exposing yourself more to the elements may in fact keep you warmer while riding, as backwards as that sounds. Thank you everyone for watching. Again, I am not like a veteran winter person. I've only lived in the North for 5 years now, and last year was my first and only year biking through the winter, but it was a good learning experience. I did a lot of trial and error, and I know that these tips are gonna help some of you who have little to no experience riding through the winter at different temperatures. So don't be afraid. This is gonna get you a very long way. And if you have other tips that I have yet to learn, or that you want to give other people from different climates, you want to tell them here's a better thing you can do, put that down in the comments. Let's all use this opportunity to help each other get the most out of our e-bikes and the most out of the year by being able to enjoy any weather out there with the right gear. Thanks so much. Next year I'll come back with hopefully a better video after getting some footage of myself riding through this winter. Obviously don't have that yet because winter's just now arriving, but I wanted to get this out there for anyone who would otherwise miss out on the opportunity to get outside and have some fun. Happy riding, everyone.